Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Paul from Paul's Predatory Fish. Making a quick video, long anticipated video of the fish room and just a fish tour of all the fish I've got, all the different tanks I've got set up, basically everything that I'm running. So this is the entrance to the fish room. Got just a bunch of random fish stickers, my logo of course, and then you come in and you are greeted with a nice U-shape setup of tanks. You've got a 210 gallon setup right here going. It's currently stocked with, I would say, an 18-inch Giardini arowana. We've got two different Peacock bass. I believe this to be a mono Peacock bass and an Ocellaris. We've got a 24-inch spotted Florida gar that could go either way, spotted or Florida. And we come down to the spotted Marble Acara Tiger Shovel Nose Hybrid, and he is 24 inches as well. So don't mind the mess. The tank is a little messy. They did have some shrimp earlier, some leftover shrimp stuck to the filter, but they'll get a water change shortly. But get a nice side view. Absolutely gorgeous fish. And then on the tank itself, we've got all the different stickers that I've acquired from all the Instagrammers. Pause it if you want and check that out. On top, we've got some pothos or pothos, whatever you want to call it. And that is helping filter out any of the ammonia and all the nitrates and all that. It's feeding off that, growing, looks beautiful, helps the tank out. Coming over here, we have a 125 gallon tank, and this one's currently a little overstocked. I had to move some fish around due to aggression and illness, so that's basically why this one is so full right now. We've got a red tail giant gourami, the gold pantano or pear-sized cichlid, very beautiful fish. That's about, I would say, anywhere from 12 to 14 inches. Regular common clown knife, as well as a very, very beat up gold clown knife or xanthic clown knife. He was actually in my 210, but the Giardini decided that he didn't want him in there anymore, and he beat him up real good overnight, so he got moved to this where he's gonna heal up. And then we've got 3 local largemouth bass that I caught at about 2-3 inches. They're about 14 inches now, about 12 to 14 I would say. Very, very fun fish, very active fish, as with all bass are. So we've got some more pothos on top, or pothos, again, whatever you want to call it. These plants are actually broken up and separated into floating basins with drilled out holes, and that's personal preference really. All that does is protect the plant from the fish, keeps them all organized and grouped together. They're not free floating around the tank. They're not getting damaged. The roots are staying intact. Up top, we've got a couple signs. I actually hung these today. I've had them for a while, but haven't really had the time to hang them up. But those sit directly above the 125. Coming across here, we've got a 180. This is my Peacock bass grow out tank. It's got a couple Ocellaris bass in there. We've got an Azul bass, 2 Florida spotted gars. Here we've got actually about an 8 to 10 inch barramundi. Very beautiful fish. Very hard to come about in these parts, actually. Very hard to find those. So definitely a very cool fish. I was lucky enough. My buddy, he was moving at the time. He gave me that. Shout out to him. That was great. We've got a much larger clown knife in the back here. He was also in the 210. He was getting beat up by the Giardini as well. So he got quarantined. He healed up. Put him in the 180, doing much better. Got a little, it's either a Carpintus or an electric blue Texas cichlid. I'm not 100% sure on that. 18-inch silver arowana. But do a quick pan view of the tanks, the 210, the 125, the 180. And this is unfish related, but this is actually a 4x2x2 enclosure for a bearded dragon. His name is Poe. He's a rescue. He's doing much better than when we picked him up. He's very, very, very curious. He's curious in what I'm recording right now and what I'm doing, but we'll save him for another video. He's real cool. Another video as well. We got a nice little leopard gecko, but again, that's another video. And we come to the closet tank where we've got a couple bichers. Now, I'm not 100% positive on the species of these. We've got, of course, the Delhaize. I think those are laps, if I'm not mistaken. We had some Senegals in here for a bit. I think it was a 10-inch Senegal and an 8-inch Senegal, but I ended up selling those off. You know, they weren't doing anything for me. They were just taking up tank space. And then up top here, we've got a nice little smallmouth bass just hanging out. He's also local caught, but panning up here, this is a dark little tank that actually has anywhere from a 3 to 4 inch, just a common wolffish, but he's just hanging out. And then that's the fish room, and then we'll go check out the other tanks. Just wanted to showcase this little guy real quick. Florida soft shell, very, very, very cool turtle. His name is Turbo. And before I forget, I've got a 32-gallon garbage can here. And what I use this for is if I ever have a sick fish or a fish is getting beat up, quickly I can move that fish to this garbage can. And it's always got cycled water, it's always aerated. There's a sponge filter in it as well. It's not currently hooked up, but I can put, like I said, any sick fish, any damaged fish into this. I can put a lid on it, I can add some salt, I can add some meds. That is by far the simplest quarantine tank you could ever design or make or set up. And it's very efficient. You can pick up the garbage can at any Walmart for like 10 bucks, and then you just hook an air stone and a sponge filter to it. And I've had great success with that. This clown knife I had in there, he's unrecognizable compared to how beat up he was before, you know, being quarantined. And even this Xanthic gold clown knife, he was inside this. I've had many fish, you know, inside this type of quarantine, and they've always done great. And to keep it cycled, it's hard to see. I'd have to get a light, but there's a 3 to 4 inch smallmouth bass that just cruises around and hangs out in there. And he loves it. I mean, you know, there's no heater in there. A smallmouth bass doesn't need a heater. If any of these fish, you know, needed to go in there, obviously I would add a heater because they need that. But currently, no heat. You know, he's loving it. Great little setup. But, you know, if you ever need a quick quarantine setup and you don't have another tank, go with the garbage can. Go with a plastic tote. Find a 15 to 20 gallon tub at Walmart. 5 to 10 bucks and you're all set. All right, so on to filtration. I run the classic cliche Sun filters. I've never had any issues with these. They've always held up. They've never failed me. I've got 3 on this 210 here, and this one is rated for, I believe, a 200 gallon tank. That one's rated for a 200 gallon tank, as well as that third one back there. So each one of these is pushing about 575 gallons per hour. And I believe that times 3, all the filters, is like 1,725 gallons per hour. So these things are really doing a good job. Plus I've got the sponge filters in there. So these are pushing water, they're filtering. There's 5 racks in there filled with different types of media. We've got the ceramic beads. We've got the bio balls. We've got, you know, filter pads, pond pads, sponge pads, everything you can think of, filter floss, polynylon, all that stuff. Anything you can think of that is able to hold good bacteria is in there. There's lava rock in there. Any media you can think of is inside these filters. And then over here, I've got an older FX5. I was lucky. This one came with the tank. FX, I've never had any problem with the Fluval products. If you can afford it, I would recommend the Fluval over the Sun. 10 out of 10. But the one thing I can't recommend is the Suns have the UV sterilizer in them, where the Fluvals don't. And that's a huge thing for me. I'm constantly, you know, I like to have at least one UV sterilizer running on my tank, you know, for any parasites, bacteria, foreign, anything. It's always a good idea to run a UV sterilizer. So that's where Fluval kind of loses it for me. All right, so this is my 265 gallon tank. Inside we have a giant gray gourami. He's about, I would say, 22 inches long. He's a real big guy. And then we've got a 26 to 28 inch silver arowana. It's a very, very beautiful fish, very big fish. Next we have the albino pacu, albino red belly pacu, and a 24 inch granulosis or granulated catfish. That is the prized fish of my collection. He's very, very big, the largest I've ever seen. Very, very big. And then here is a 24 inch clown knife. He's a little beat up. This entire tank I call my problem tank. There's barely any fish in it, buttloads of filtration, you know, plants on top, tons of mechanical, tons of biological filtration going on. The tank is always having ammonia spikes. And a large reason for that actually is our town water. We have tons and tons of issues with our town water. It's full of chlorine, chloramines, and it's even full of ammonia. And that's been causing havoc for this tank. Basically, for some reason, this tank holds on to that ammonia no matter what I do. I can use, you know, zeolite, any type of ammonia, you know, thing to get rid of it. I can do water changes. I can add good bacteria, no matter what. This tank always seems to have ammonia issues. Recently, back to the town water, we had a ton of bleach flushed through the system to shock the system, and I didn't receive word about that in time. So I ended up doing a water change, and I shocked my whole tank. Everybody got sick. I lost an albino clown knife. He was about 26 inches. I lost a 24-inch red-tailed tiger shovel-nose hybrid cat, and every one of these fish got sick. Every single one of them. Their slime coat was burnt off. They were literally just being burned alive from the water, and it was horrible. I had to go buy water in jugs. I had to go to my buddy's house. He was on well water. Had to use his water, you know, and stuff like that. And that's something that can be a problem for, you know, most people. If they live in a town, you don't know what the town is flushing into your water, so you always have to be on top of that. If you notice your water smelling a little funny, if you notice the coloration of it is off, make sure that you call your town before putting your water in your tank. You need to know what's going into your tank. Otherwise, you're going to do what I did and shock your fish. All right, last but not least, this is my other 265 gallon tank. It's very, very, very overcrowded right now. Back to my other 265 having those issues with it. A lot of the fish had to be put into this tank just in order to basically save their lives and not overload the other tank's ammonia when it was having issues. So there are a lot of fish in this tank currently that are going to go back, that are going to get rehomed or sold. Basically, this tank right here is my jail cell. Basically, I put the fish in here temporarily if I know they're going to a bigger home, you know, soon. So we've got the big pacu in here. We've got 3 giant pacu in here, a 24-incher, a 14 and a 16-incher. We've got a giant flagtail barb. He's absolutely massive. Leucistic female giant gourami, very, very, very angry. Clown knife, the red tail, tiger shovel nose, iridescent shark. All very large fish that should not be in this tank for more than, you know, it's temporary. It's a temporary housing tank. So all of these fish will find new homes. They'll go to bigger, you know, tanks, upgrades, ponds, pools, aquariums, stuff like that. The waru in the back. But again, this is just another tank I have. Currently being filtered with hang on the back sponge filters. You know, the big 200-gallon Sun tanks. We've got tons and tons of filtration going on, and this tank is absolutely crystal clear. They just had a water change, doing fantastic. But again, there's another 265. On the opposite side of the living room, we've got a 40-gallon breeder stand and another 40-gallon breeder stand. The top is filled with baby peacock bass. We've got what I believe to be an Xingu, and then a bunch of Ocellaris bass. There's a bunch of bichers in here, 2 Andalicheries. We got 1 albino Senegal. Back down here, we've got the turtles. We've got an African side neck turtle currently going through shed. And we've got 2 red-eared sliders. There's one. The other guy's hiding somewhere. But there's the last tank setup. Nice little setup. I used to have 2 setups like this, 2 double stacked tanks, and it was phenomenal. They work great for quarantine tanks. They work great for grow out tanks. Or if you need to move somebody who's aggressive, you can fit a pretty decently large fish in a 40-gallon breeder by itself. You could put a 12 to 14 inch Oscar in one of these for temporary, and he'll be, perfectly fine. It's not a bad idea to put, something larger in a smaller tank when it's got the width that a 40-gallon breeder has. All right, everybody, thank you so much for checking this out. It's definitely been a pleasure, and it's definitely been, way too long for me to get this video put out. I've been extremely busy, with work, with the fish, just life in general. So, I mean, it's definitely, like I said, been way too long getting this video put out. So thank you, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe, and give it a thumbs up.